Hey, Ma. Good, good. How about you? Good. Look, Ma, would I be able to borrow money again? No, no. Cyril Gone didn't lose, Ma. I got that money back, but I blew $80 on the pay per view, and I also took off of work to watch it, even though it ended in a no contest. And again, I'm a jerk off. All right, I understand, Ma. All right. Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm here to break down UFC Fight Night 263, Garcia versus Onama. This card sucks. Okay, opening up the card, we have Talita Alencar taking on Ariane Carnelossi. My prediction here is Alencar wins, and I've got her winning by decision. I'm not confident in this prediction whatsoever. I'm tempted to bet on Ariane Carnelossi, who's at 2-1 odds. And of course, I'm going to wait for the point spread and the props. Even Alencar by decision, of course, I'll take a look at. But I think money line wise, her line is set too far wide. She's too big of a favorite. I think Ariane Carnelossi, I know she's a physical test for anybody. She's built like Chad Mendez. She doesn't have the best takedown defense, but of course, that's because she's been fighting much tougher opponents and being ripped to the mat by Lupi Godinez. And speaking of which, in general, she's got a much better record and resume. Much deeper, much more tested fighter in victory and defeat. Her first win is over Bruna Brazil, Ariane Carnelossi, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, it's over Bruna Brazil. And a bunch of other good fighters. Gloria De Paula. She's beaten UFC fighters along her journey, and now she's in the UFC, and she's been here for some time. Well, she's got 5 fights in the UFC, and one of them's a disqualification. I probably shouldn't have brought that up. But regardless, MMA wise, she's definitely the more seasoned fighter, and she's definitely more dangerous as well. And Alencar, who is just getting going, really, she's got a record of 6-1. I'm picking her because of what she did against Vanessa Demopoulos, but there's still doubt with Alencar. Her cardio has cost her against Stephanie Luciano, really cost her that victory. And in the rematch, she was really shut down from the get-go. But yeah, she's just getting going, and there's doubt with anybody who doesn't have over 10 fights, and with anybody who's shown weaknesses. And Ariane Carnelossi's a girl who's put away girls in round 3, stabbing the body of Ketlen Souza, current UFC fighter. So there's just a lot of upside with Ariane Carnelossi, but in general, despite me thinking her takedown defense is prettier than the stats, whatever the stats show, because it's abysmal with UFC stats. But I think, again, there's context there because she's fought a much better set of fighters. But despite that, I still think the story of the fight is going to be Alencar hitting at least 2 takedowns and winning with control. Alencar, I think, is a good takedown artist. I think she's a good athlete. I like the way she really controlled Vanessa Demopoulos with ease. And I think Ariane Carnelossi, even though she might be stronger than Vanessa Demopoulos, she's similar in stature. I'd put her at about the same level, and I think Talita Alencar can get this victory. And that's the prediction with a gun to my head. Even though, again, I might not cover it with a bet. Next up, we have Isaac Dolgarian taking on Yadier Davalier. My prediction here is Yadier Davalier wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by submission in round 2. I'm aware Isaac Dolgarian is fucking awesome. There's a chance I'm really wrong about this in a big way, and Isaac just goes through him with ease. Because that's what Isaac's done to everybody he's beaten. And the one guy he lost to, Christian Rodriguez, C-Rod, you could argue certainly Isaac got the better of him as well. And that would have been by decision. But I do think in that fight, no matter how you scored it, you'd have to say Christian Rodriguez was the better man in the second half of the fight. And I've got Yadier Davalier winning in a similar fashion, but closing the show with what I perceive to be an underrated guillotine choke of his. I mean, he's good on the ground altogether. He's got subs everywhere. Seen him going for knee bars. He's hit arm bars from the guard. He can take your back, and he's got really good control. But here, I think he's going to be on the back foot with Isaac Dolgarian looking to go through him, take him down, and go through him on the ground. And I've got that guillotine being the weapon for Yadier Davalier. I think he's going to have to make Isaac Dolgarian fatigue. He's going to have to force him to scramble. I mean, he could catch him in the first round. Of course, when he's fresh, that's when I believe all of Yadier's submission victories take place in round one. But still, I've seen that guillotine come through in a big way in various decision wins of his. And I think he's going to outlast Isaac, make him a little tired, and put him away where C-Rod couldn't. Isaac Dolgarian, though, he's a monster. He's 7-1 now. All 7 of his wins are destructions. All but one take place in round one. And his best win is probably 2 fights ago against Francis Marshall, where he was able to stop him from the full mount at the end of round one. And that's how all of his wins take place. Full mount or back mount. He smashes you with a big shot, takes you down, and he's all over you, and he closes the show typically within 5 minutes. Against Brendan Marat in his last fight, it took him 10 minutes or 9 minutes, which was a good look, especially coming off of that C-Rod loss. But he did it. The thing is, Brendan Marat, whatever. Tough to gauge where he's at, but I put Yadier Davalier as a higher fighter. I think Davalier could be more easily exposed on the feet than on the ground, even though he's Cuban. Even I don't know what I meant by that. But I do think he's more ready to be exposed on the feet. I think he's definitely a bigger problem on the ground. But here I'm aware Isaac has so much upside on the ground, he could just go through him. It could be where he just Khabibs him. Like RDA was fucking awesome. He still is if he's still fighting, but he was no match for Khabib. This could be where Isaac is just too much for Yadier. Or Yadier. But I like Davalier here. I think he's got a deeper resume, even though he might not have one singular win that's as good as the Francis Marshall win for Isaac Dolgarian. But I think he's been tested more. Certainly within the fights themselves, he's been tested more. He's had a tough 3-rounder with Michael Aswell, who's fucking awesome. That was a really close fight, but I do think he won. And at the end of the day, it was his control in round one that was the difference. This guy, he fought a guy, Miguel Lugo. That guy was able to mount him. He took him down a few times, and he mounted him at the end of round one, which that's something I do look to when breaking down this fight with Isaac Dolgarian. But of course, he survived Yadier, weathered the storm, and took him out in round two. And yeah, he's been tested. The guy Pena Alamov, Antonio Montero. These aren't the best fighters, but they're good. And he's been tested enough, and he's passed every test and looked really good doing so. I think he's got a lot to offer Isaac Dolgarian, and I've got him winning this fight. So he's a 2-1 underdog. That's good enough for me. But of course, I'll wait for the props and see about that submission. Because again, I think he's an underrated submission artist, especially with that guillotine choke. And I've got him closing the show against Isaac Dolgarian. And by the way, if I'm wrong, Isaac Dolgarian probably destroys him within a round and a half. So I would definitely look towards the under if you're looking to cover both ends of things, or certainly the Isaac Dolgarian end of things. He's a seek and destroy fighter. And I think if he wins this fight, things are just going his way from the beginning. Next up, we have Norma Dumont versus Ketlen Vieira. My prediction here is Norma Dumont wins, and I'm going to go with her winning by decision. And I'm not too confident in that prediction, but it is my prediction. I favor Norma, and more than anything, I favor decision. I think this is going to be a close one. I favor Norma because I think she's the stronger girl. I think both girls are really tough to take down. I think Ketlen's going to make it difficult for Norma to take her down, but I still think Norma can pin her against the cage with her bigger ass, kind of. And I think Norma Dumont wins with control. At range, Ketlen Vieira, I think, could do a little better. I think she's faster and bigger, a little bit bigger. But I still think this is going to be a grimy, clinchy, grappling, heavy fight. Each girl's been stopped once, knocked out. Rene Aldana knocked out Ketlen Vieira, and Norma Dumont beat her. And Megan Anderson knocked out Norma Dumont. And Ketlen Vieira did not beat her, for whatever that's worth. But I'm going with Norma here. She's had a lot of momentum. Her only loss since that Megan Anderson fight is a tight split decision to Macy Chasson. And she's been out grinding everybody since then. Got a big win over Jermaine Durandamy last year, followed it up with that win over Rene Aldana. And here, I think, even though it's not going to be easy or pretty, I think she outgrinds Ketlen Vieira. Vieira, I bet on. I don't think I picked her, but I bet against Kayla Harrison when Ketlen Vieira fought her, because I have a lot of faith in Ketlen's size, certainly, and her takedown defense. So I'm picking Norma here, but again, it's not with a lot of confidence. I think if Ketlen Vieira is at range, she's doing better. And I think even if Norma is in tight, Ketlen Vieira is still a problem for her. But plug it all into each other, and I still got to favor Norma by grimy decision. So that's the pick. These odds are really tight where they at right now. They are Norma's a favorite at minus 140. Ketlen coming back at plus 120. I doubt the point spread or decision line or anything's going to be worth it. In general, I'm staying away from this, but of course, I'll look for everything. Next up, we have Chang Ho Lee taking on Timothy Cuamba. My prediction here is Timothy Cuamba wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision, although he'll probably be going for a flying knee knockout. But I do favor Timothy Cuamba here, even though he doesn't have the prettier record. He's got a record of 9-3. He lost once before coming to the UFC, and that was by rear naked choke to this guy Ivan Tena, who just stuffed with his takedowns that he kept insisting on and ended up turning a quarter, taking his back, and choking him. And then he lost twice in the UFC in his first two fights to Balaji Oki and Lucas Almeida. To established fighters. Well, Oki continues to establish himself, but those are also two bigger, stronger men and longer men than Chang Ho Lee. And I think Chang Ho Lee, he's Timothy Cuamba's size. It's a much more manageable matchup. And I think Timothy Cuamba will be the better athlete. I think that'll shine, his athleticism and his physical strength. I also think Timothy Cuamba is the more dangerous between the two, especially if he is throwing flying knees like he insisted on with Roberto Romero. But he also got a nice head kick over a good fighter, Michael Stack, to get him into the UFC. That was a week before he fought Balaji Oki. Holy shit. But Chang Ho Lee, he's never been finished. I think Timothy Cuamba's more dangerous, but Chang Ho Lee's never been finished. His one loss is a decision to this guy Sim Kai Zhang, and it was a really close fight in Brave FC. He actually was hurt in that fight, and it was with a flying knee and a head kick and some other shit. But he survived, and in the end, it was a really close fight, and he kept coming all the way till the end. But that's the only time he was ever beaten. And like I said, it was a close enough fight where it could have gone the other way. And of course, you could say the same about his fight against Long Zhao or Zhao Long last year. Really close fight, and he got the decision, but Zhao Long gave him hell, just like he did in his last fight, Zhao Long. But yeah, I think Chang Ho Lee has a lot of great traits as a fighter. I think he's really tough. I think he's got good cardio, even though you could argue he's been outlasted by Zhao Long or whoever. But he keeps coming, and I do think he's got skills everywhere. He's only got one submission victory, but he can put guys away on the ground as well, like Cortavius Romeus. And I think that could be something, but I don't expect it to be in this matchup. I think both guys will cancel each other out. I think this is going to largely be a striking battle, and I've got Timothy Cuamba winning. He might be on the back foot a little more, but I think his strikes will mean more. I think he'll have the bigger moments because he goes for shit, and I think he'll be able to handle what Chang Ho Lee is throwing back at him. So Timothy Cuamba is the pick. He's a slight favorite at minus 125. I haven't bet on him yet, but I'll at least consider it. Timothy Cuamba. Next up, we have Billy Elekana taking on Kevin Christian. My prediction for this fight is Billy Elekana wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by TKO in round 2. I don't even have the most trust in Billy Elekana. I mean, he did beat Ebo Aslan in the shittiest fight of all time, or at least since Dan Severn versus Ken Shamrock 2. But I still think more highly of him than I do of Kevin Christian. And I haven't seen all of Kevin Christian's fights. I've seen his victories, but not his 2 defeats. He was submitted once against this guy Jordan Rocha with a rear naked choke in round 2, and this guy Moises Costa knocked him out in round 2. I guess that's the basis for my round 2 prediction with Billy Elekana. But I haven't seen those fights. I've only seen him in victory. And on that, I'm picking him to lose here to Billy Elekana, despite my lack of faith altogether in him. But I think Billy's got it going on, and I think Kevin Christian really doesn't. I think he's sloppy. I don't think he's got too many good victories. He got a nice triangle choke on the Contender Series, but that was a fucking mess of a fight. And that guy he beat, the Italian dude Mazzeo, he's not the greatest. And it was sloppy, but hey, he called his shot. He got into the UFC. Maybe he'll win with a triangle choke here. But I think he's going to have a hard time getting on top of Billy to take it to the ground. I know that's not how you set up triangle chokes. And I think on the feet, Billy Elekana is going to be too difficult. Just too difficult. I think he's going to move too well and be a much better striker. I'm not crazy about the way Kevin Christian looks, to be honest. And again, that's without having seen his 2 losses, which, by the way, are both 10 years ago. So it's not like I'd be harping on them anyway. But as you know, I want to see the losses first. But having seen the losses of Billy Elekana, he lost by decision to Daniel Compton. He's had some close victories as well. And then his last loss was to Bogdan Guskov, who is a surging contender, so it's not the shittiest look. But I still think those are forgivable, and I think Billy Elekana, despite not having the deepest resume himself, he's still got more going on, especially on the feet, than Kevin Christian. So Billy is the pick. Ebo Aslan may not be the greatest victory, and it certainly wasn't the greatest fight, but it's better than anything that Kevin Christian has. So I like Billy Elekana to win this fight. He's sitting at minus 238, and I have bet on him. Minus 238 for Billy. I just don't have a lot of faith in his opponent. Next up, we have Charles Radtke taking on Daniel Frunza. My prediction for this fight is Charles Radtke wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by submission in round 2. In general, though, I like the under in this fight without having seen what it looks like or where the line is set. I think this is going to be a pretty fun fight that ends at a finish. But I'm going with Radtke by submission. I do worry about Charles Radtke. Of course, he was knocked out against Mike Malott in his last fight. But even before that, my biggest concern was his body, getting knocked out to the body, like he was against Justin Montalvo and again against Carlos Prates, despite Prates being a fucking monster. But yeah, I do think that's a thing moving forward for Radtke, and I think Daniel Frunza is very fucking dangerous. So if he was the win, I'd envision him going through Radtke with some sort of stoppage, a TKO or a clean knockout even. But I think Charles Radtke's the more well-rounded guy. Daniel Frunza's a guy that's been subbed a few times. And I think, of course, Radtke is the more willing and trustworthy wrestler. And I think he's going to take it there. I'm assuming that's going to be plan A for him. And I've got him closing the show on Frunza. Radtke, he's definitely got a good, sharp left hook. Might be the best singular weapon on the feet in this fight. but there's a lot of doubt with him. Having been knocked out a few times to the head and the body, so I don't know if he's going to be wise to engage too much with Daniel Frunza, whose career is filled with knockouts. He's got 9 victories, 8 of them are by knockout, and just 1 by decision. And on the feet, I should mention, Frunza's never been knocked out, but he was certainly knocked around against Reese McKee, and technically he was finished by TKO after the bell, after round 1. But yeah, his chin's still going strong, but that was a big fucking test for it. His chin might have had something taken from it in that fight against Reese McKee. So yeah, there's doubt all around, and Frunza's a little younger, and he's more dangerous in the one direction with his striking. But I think Charles Radtke is going to be the bully in there. I think he's going to be the physical bully, the wrestling bully, and eventually the grappling bully. And I've got him winning by submission. Charles Radtke by rear naked choke in round 1, let's say, maybe round 2. But the odds are close enough. Radke's minus 166. I haven't bet on him, but I'll definitely be considering it. I'm going to wait for everything, and especially the under. And if the under is set at 1.5 rounds, I might bet on it depending on what it looks like. But when it's set at 2.5 rounds, when those odds drop on Wednesday or Thursday, I will bet on that no matter what it looks like. Next up, we have Deontay Johnson making his UFC debut against Cedricus Dumas. My prediction here is Dumas wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And I'm semi-confident in this prediction, although I'm not married to decision. Deontay Johnson's never been beaten as a pro. He's 6-0, but he was beaten once as an amateur, and he was knocked unconscious with a head kick. That was a heavyweight fight, I believe, and a heavyweight leg. But Cedricus Dumas still has a big frame. And Deontay Johnson's gone through guys that have substantial height and reach like Dumas does, but he's gone through them at light heavyweight and at heavyweight. I think SD Dumas is going to have the height, the reach, and the speed, which is going to make him a different problem for Deontay. I think Dumas wins on the outside. Of course, he's got a chance of getting the knockout himself. Again, Dante's had his light shut out. But Dumas, he hasn't been the best nail in the UFC. I would think he's worried about his own durability, especially seeing the firepower from Deontay Johnson. So I'm thinking Dumas might try to mix it up as well. I don't want to say he's the best wrestler or the best grappler, but he's won plenty of fights already in the UFC. Every fight he's won in the UFC has been by mixing it up, even when fucking takedowns are given to him by Cody Brundage's guillotine. But he mixes it up, and he's got a way of controlling guys. He secures position over submission, and that's how he's won fights in the UFC. And I've got him showing Deontay Johnson that next level. Deontay Johnson's ferocious, but he's my height, and he's going up against somebody who's long, tall, and again, very fast. I believe this is the first fight for Deontay Johnson at middleweight, and I think it's going to be a different fight altogether, where he's not able to do his seek and destroy thing, and on the outside, he's not having a lot of success. And I believe chasing Dumas and getting frustrated will make it easier for Dumas to score takedowns. If, again, that is his game plan. So Dumas is the pick. I've got him winning by decision officially, but again, with Dante only having been beaten once and it was his lights getting shut out, I'm comfortable with the money line of SD Dumas. Next up, we have Philip Rowe versus Seok-Hyun Ko. My prediction here is Rowe wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by knockout in round 2. I do think he's going to be coming back if he wins. I do think Seok-Hyun Ko is going to be in his face. And even though I think Philip Rowe is better, much better on the ground, Seok-Hyun Ko is going to be the wrestler. He's going to be leading the dance and controlling the fight. But I know he can't go through Rowe on the ground, and unless he knocks him out maybe, but he's not going to submit him. And on the feet, even though Rowe is slower, like he is in most matchups, he's still got every trait in the book, and he's used every trait in the book to win every fight he's won in the UFC pretty much. Got that beautiful comeback over Angelosa. Another comeback or halfway there against Nico Price. Both those are in round 3. Those are his last 2 wins. And before that, he got round 2 knockouts over Jason Witt and Orion Cochet. I think Philip Rowe, even though he's 35, he's in his prime. He can definitely take it. And I think down the stretch, when everybody gets a little more tired, he's got that next level, and his danger is still there for him. Se-Kyung Ko, I think his primary path to victory is decision, far and away, against Philip Rowe. Again, I don't think he can go through him on the ground, and I don't think he can knock him out, although, of course, he can knock him out. And Se-Kyung Ko, speaking of getting knocked out, he's been knocked out in both of his losses, last of which came 4 years ago. And the first one was back in 2018, and it was the former UFC fighter Sasha Paletnikov. But those are his 2 losses. And Philip Rowe, when he does rally after a slow start, he typically gets it done by knockout. At least that's how it's been in the UFC. So I've got Philip Rowe surviving, overcoming a slow start, not letting Se-Kyung Ko thoroughly outgrapple him like he did to Oban Elliott. Again, I think Philip Rowe's got a lot more to offer on the ground. And I think down the stretch, Philip Rowe will come alive. And I've got him being too much for Se-Kyung Ko's chin, which has already failed him on 2 occasions. Phil Rowe is plus 170. I'm not too confident in my prediction, but I like that, so I bet on him. But once everything drops, like I said, I've got Se-Kyung Ko by decision on one side and Philip Rowe rallying on the other side. I suppose a decision's possible, but he typically puts guys away. Se-Kyung Ko's been put away twice. I'll look to play those props. Next up, we have Alice Ardelean taking on Montserrat Ruiz. Conejo is something else. My prediction here is Alice Ardelean wins. I think she's going to win by TKO in round 2. I think it's going to be one of those fights where she's a little too much physically for Montserrat Ruiz, who's probably too small to even be an atom weight. And I think it's going to wear her down. And Alice Ardelean, who's a pretty potent finisher, especially for a female, I think she's going to close the show and get a finish. I don't think she's as dangerous altogether as like Eduardo Maura or certainly Jacqueline Amorim or Amanda Lemos, the 3 girls that have beaten Montserrat Ruiz. But I do think Alice Ardelean is still better than she's looked in the UFC. And again, potent enough finisher where I expect her to go through Montserrat Ruiz. Montserrat's just too small to trust. She's been bullied in the UFC. Again, all 3 of her losses are by finish, which is, pretty unusual for a female, probably even male fighters. And her one loss by decision before the UFC was to a good fighter and former UFC fighter, Danielle Taylor, but a smaller girl who wasn't the biggest bully. I think Alice Ardelean, she's got a big old ass, and I think she's going to get it on top of Montserrat Ruiz when she's a little tired and grind her into dust. And if I'm wrong, I still favor Alice Ardelean winning by decision. Montserrat is scrappy, and we've seen it in her win over Cheyenne Vlismas, formerly Cheyenne Bays. That was a great win, but I think here she's not going to have any leverage for any head and arm throws, and I think her scrappiness is going to wear off, and her speed and the rest of it is going to wear off within a round or so, and Alice is going to be too much for her. Again, Alice hasn't had the most successful UFC career so far, or MMA career, frankly. She's 10-7. But I do think she's a good fighter. I think she's going to be hanging around for a bit, and she's going to be too much for Montserrat Ruiz. She's too big of a favorite, minus 400 or thereabout. So I'm not playing her money line. I'll wait to see the props and maybe go reaching for the finish. All right. I don't know if I lost the previous video I just did about this fight or not, so I'm going to do it here again. Nascimento is no longer fighting Rafael Estevam. He's now fighting Cody Durden. This fight was booked today, I believe. While I was making this video, the fight lineup changed on SureDog and Tapology. My prediction here is Nascimento wins, and I've got him winning by submission. I think he's just got uh, too dangerous jiu-jitsu for Cody Durden, who's been submittable historically. I don't think the circumstances favor Cody here. He's taken the fight on short notice, and I think in order for him to win, he's got to go 15 minutes. Nascimento is a guy who's never been finished. He's tough as all fuck, and he's really tough to submit. And I think Cody can definitely win a decision with wrestling. Wrestling wins decisions. But I do think, yeah, he's going to have to fight all 15 minutes. Nascimento is not going to make it easy on him. His jiu-jitsu is not just submissions, which are enough, but, he's also got great sweeps, takedowns himself. And on the feet, even though I think Cody Durden's boxing would kind of carry the fight, I think it's the best asset on the feet between the two of them. He's still the guy who's been most vulnerable there. He's been clipped a bunch, and Nascimento could probably strike freely because he doesn't give a shit about the fight hitting the mat. So I think technically and circumstantially, this is a very difficult fight for Cody Durden. And I've got the jiu-jitsu being too much for him. Nascimento, I think if he gets on top of Cody Durden, it's a big problem. He's incredibly dangerous, and Cody Durden's not going to fare well. Cody is the better wrestler, maybe the better boxer. He's got assets in this fight, but again, he's got to go 15 minutes. It is incumbent on him to be in top control for the majority of the fight and for it to go 15 minutes for him to win. And maybe I'll look to play the decision line. I don't even know what the odds are going to look like. But certainly if they were even odds or anything enticing, I'm going with Nascimento. I do believe he wins this fight. And far and away, I think his most likely outcome is submission. And I'll go with it happening in round 2. Cody has a little success. It wears off in one way or another. Maybe he gets clipped even. But once the ball gets rolling, Nascimento is going to be too much for him. So Nascimento by submission for the 15th fucking time. Next up, we have Jeremiah Wells versus Themba Gorimbo. My prediction here is Jeremiah Wells wins. And I'm going to go with him winning by knockout. I think this is a close fight. I think if it went the distance, I would certainly favor Themba Gorimbo. I think he'd be the guy looking to do more controlling, and I would favor him to win the decision. But I think Wells is in the realm of winning a decision as well. He's a difficult guy to control. He's built like a fucking brick shithouse, a 5'9" brick shithouse. And he's also, despite being 38, still pretty damn athletic and explosive. These are euphemisms for black. He's a black dude. But so is Themba Gorimbo, but he's not as explosive as Jeremiah Wells. And I think Jeremiah Wells, even though he's had some shittier round 3s as of late, he's still got 15 minutes of cardio. And again, the only time he's ever been finished is against Carlston Harris, where he was on his way to a victory, but fell into that monstrous anaconda choke last year. But even though Themba's got good chokes, I think Jeremiah Wells has a big old neck, and he's going to be a difficult guy to submit. And Jeremiah Wells on the feet, he's definitely a problem. He hits like a fucking train. And Themba Gorimbo, I don't have faith in his chin. He was club and subbed against Vicente Luque. I believe I called that one precisely, the club and the sub. And he was also club and subbed against AJ Fletcher in his previous loss. Got hit with a big elbow and put right into a guillotine. And before coming to the UFC, he was knocked out against this tough guy, Dave Mazzani. That was in round 2. So in general, I just don't have a lot of faith in his chin. It's been a little shaky, and I know Jeremiah Wells makes every strike count. So that's why in general, I'm favoring him. But Themba, despite his losses, he's already beaten some good fighters. Nico Price, maybe that wasn't the best Nico Price we've seen, but Themba still beat him by decision comfortably. And he beat Ramiz Brahimaj, who's kicking ass and taking names and submitting everybody that he's not knocking out. and Temba Garimbo was able to go through all that and control Ramiz. And then before that, Pete Rodriguez. All right, we've fallen off a bit here. But yeah, Temba Garimbo, I see why he is favored. He is a slight favorite here. But I think Jeremiah Wells is going to be a difficult guy. He's really fast and athletic. He's going to be a difficult guy for Temba to just pin down and control, take down in the first place. And on the feet, I think Temba is going to be a little too vulnerable. Wells a little too dangerous. So I've got Wells winning. Again, I'm going with him winning by knockout, but he's in the realm of winning a decision. I haven't bet on him. He's a slight favorite. I might do that, but Wells is the pick. And in the co-main event, we have Ante Delija versus Waldo Cortes-Acosta. My prediction here is Ante Delija wins, and I'm going to go with him winning by decision. And I'm not confident in this prediction whatsoever. I think it's a close matchup, and if I'm right and Delija wins, I couldn't be sure about decision anyway, because Delija is a pretty dangerous guy and a well-rounded guy. And I'm picking his well-roundedness, his versatility, to be the reason for the victory here. He can handle himself on the feet, certainly, but I do give a slight edge there to Waldo with his boxing, as far as small moments go over the course of 15 minutes. But I do think Delija is the better man on the ground, and he's the guy that's going to be looking to take it there. He's a big, strong guy, and I think if there's any points to be scored or submissions to be snatched, they belong to Ante Delija. And if he was to get a finish over Cortes-Acosta, I would actually pick it to be ground and pound before a submission, just a positional thing. But I do favor decision, and I favor Delija because even though he's fighting a good boxer here and a really tough guy in Waldo Cortes-Acosta, I think Delija, he's got a wealth of experience, solid 3-round and 5-round experience fighting the best guys outside of the UFC in the PFL over the last however many years. And I think he's in his prime right now, training with Tom Aspinall. And I know Aspinall didn't have the greatest look recently, in my opinion. But I still think this has got to be the best Ante Delija there's ever been, even though he's 35. Waldo Cortes-Acosta's 34. So huge advantage there. But I'm going with Delija. He's been knocked out a few times himself throughout the years. He's been submitted, which shouldn't be a path to victory for Waldo. But I think Ante Delija is in his prime. I think he's really fucking tough. And I think he's the more versatile guy. So even though I might have him slightly behind in the boxing battle, I guess I should call it the kickboxing battle, I do think he's going to be too much in the MMA sense for Waldo, and he's my pick to win. I haven't bet on him. The odds are dead even pretty much. Waldo's a slight favorite. Delia's minus 105, a minus underdog. But I don't think I'll bet on anything. Maybe I'll wait for the over, the point spread, the horse shit, but I'm probably just sitting this one out. And in the main event of the evening, we have David Onama versus Steve Garcia. My prediction here is Steve Garcia wins, and I'm going with him winning by knockout in round 2. And the basis for the prediction is Calvin Kattar beat Giga Chikadze like 5 years ago. Now, those are each of their respective last wins, but that's got nothing to do with it. It's really just a pick based on Steve Garcia being the most dangerous man on the planet. That's really it. I know he won by decision in his last fight against Calvin Kattar, and I thought he looked phenomenal there a few months ago. But before that, it was all destructions for Steve Garcia. And a lot of dog fights. Both guys have shown that they can go through dog fights. David Onama lost that huge dog fight to Nate Landwehr, but he didn't get finished. He's never been finished. And he's battled through adversity against Roberto Romero and Gabriel Santos and everyone else, and Jonathan Pierce. But I think here, in the middle of a tough fight with Steve Garcia, it's just going to go down differently. I think big moments for Steve Garcia are devastating. And David Onama, for the first time, I envision him getting finished here. Garcia is the guy who has been finished. He was knocked out and submitted. He was submitted against Elon Cruz back in 2018, and he was knocked out in his UFC, his second or third fight in the UFC against Mahashate. Mahashate caught him cold, caught him a few times, but a big straight right hand, and Steve went down. It can happen, but Steve, first of all, I think he'd be favored to beat Mahashate in the rematch. And secondly, he's done nothing but climb since then. 6 consecutive fights, 5 finishes, and again, a great decision win over Calvin Kattar. And he's faced adversity too against tough fighters, Shailon Nurbandeke, Melchizedek Costa, whoever else, a little less adversity against Chase Hooper, let's say. But I think Steve Garcia is the more dangerous man. And I think this fight is going to be a dog fight where each guy's tasting danger. And even though David Onama has been the guy that's pulled out the knockout victories and never been knocked out himself, I think Steve Garcia is going to be too much for him, and he's going to close the show. So Steve Garcia by knockout is the pick. Steve Garcia is the bet right now, not with anything substantial, but the odds are a toss-up. But in general, I like the finish here, and I'll be waiting to see the under and the props and the horse shit. But going with Steve, like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit, and check out my other videos.